What's up, beautiful people? Thank you for tuning back in to Too Generic. This week, we're without Richie again. He works at Amazon. He works at Amazon, not works on Amazon. He works at Amazon, and there's some mandatory things that he has to do. You understand what I'm saying? So basically, because of Prime and because you guys want your mail fast, I don't get a podcast host. So that's kind of what I'm dealing with right now. But it's life. Things happen. Men got duties. We got to do what we got to do. And what I got to do today is still keep this podcast running. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Even if it's late, you might be tuning in tomorrow morning, catching everything, catching up with us. But either way, let's start off the show by saying happy birthday to my two favorite basketball players of all time, born on the same day, Paul Pierce and Cam Thomas. Every single episode, I mention these guys, and it just so happens that their birthdays fall on the same exact day. Basketball greatness has a way of doing something like that. The greats, born on March 23rd, some of the greatest passers and creative people in the league. Let me start off. Jason Kidd, one of the best point guards of all time. Great guy, right? Now he is. Gordon Hayward, very, very good player. I believe he was a one-time All-Star with the Jazz. Did great at Butler. Brad Stevens had a big history with him. Comes back to the Celtics. Brad Stevens on the Celtics. It's all cool. It ties into my basketball lore and fandom, and they were born on my birthday, which is cool. Also, Kyrie Irving. I feel like me and Kyrie, out of everybody, I feel like I would associate myself with Kyrie the most, ironically. I just like the way he is, not a contrarian, but a counter thinker. Somebody who thinks outside the box, doesn't just take the information given to them and say, it is what it is. There's some more deeper interpretation. We want to know the ins and the outs. We're naturally architects in our brain. We like to take apart everything. We like to put it back together. We like to know all of it. And I could go in the whole rift with that. But we got some other things. We got the NBA preseason. Obviously, that's coming around right now. Had about 6 days of the preseason so far. But more importantly is the WNBA Finals. WNBA Finals, one game in so far. The Lynx are up on the Liberty. The Lynx are up 1-0 to the New York Liberty. Weird ending. It just kept going. It just kept being a turnover. The Liberty were up the whole time. They blew the lead. They kept giving it away. Jonquel got blocked 3 times in one possession. It was very strange stuff. It was very strange. It felt like they were trying to give it to the Lynx. Everybody, the refs, the Liberty, the Lynx, they all wanted the Lynx to win. They actually were giving it to the Lynx so much that it went off Breonna Stewart's foot one play. And they gave it to the Liberty because it was just possession after possession. And they looked into it after and said it was off the Liberty, but shit, the Lynx were getting every single call. And it just got worse and worse and went to overtime. And then once it was in overtime, that's when the Lynx really laid it down and beat the Liberty. But it was such a weird game. It truly was. They were ahead the entire time, blowing them out 10 plus, 15 plus the entire game. Comes down to the last 3 minutes. They blow the entire lead. And at the end of the game, every possession was a shit show. You'd have to watch it to see what I'm talking about. I'm not just blowing smoke. People said it was the most intense game in the past 5 years, NBA or WNBA. It was crazy. I'll say that. The ending was nuts. It made no sense. Every other possession was a turnover. It was sloppy as hell. I mean, you could just say the Lynx wanted it more, I guess. But yeah, 1-0. Lynx are up. And I got a little bit of a beef with the Lynx because they beat my son. So I don't think they're legitimate winners. We'll see what happens though. They won the Commissioner's Cup. They were the mid-season champions. But let's see if they can end the season being the champs. That's the different story. Also, we had the UFC fight night last night, and I believe UFC 308 is coming up, right? Am I tripping? Yeah. 308's coming up. It's going to be Max Holloway, Ilya Topuria. We even get Chimaev coming back against Robert Whittaker, which is always interesting. Ige gets a fight. Ige came out and showed up on short notice it wasn't in the Sphere. He wanted to fight in the Sphere, but Diego Lopez got it. They fought each other. Diego Lopez moves on. Ankalaev and Rakic are fighting. That's going to be huge. And even Shara, the Bullet, is going to fight Armen Petrosian. So that's going to be an interesting fight. We'll see if Magomedov can do it. The one-eyed pirate, that's what I call him. He's got like a white eye, and he's got red hair. It's big. He really looks like, if you dressed him up as a pirate, he would be the scariest pirate ever. You'd have to see him. You know what? I can show you him. Why am I talking like I can't show you the scary pirate? Here he is. Here's the pirate. Let me share the screen. Y'all got to stick around for the pirate. You got to see what he looks like. So this is, oh God, of course. Oh no. My internet's shit. No, it's not my internet. It's whatever MSN was. It just took over my screen. Wouldn't let me scroll. But this is Shara Bullet. He kind of looks like a pirate to me. He got this big red beard. It's not like I'm out here calling everybody a pirate. It's just the fact that he has this big red beard. He just looks like a pirate. Man, this show has been an absolute mess today. I appreciate you guys rolling with me. I didn't really plan ahead today because Richie called out, and to be honest, I didn't think I was going to do it today, but I really wanted to. I got to stay consistent with the show, regardless if, we're getting viewership or not. It's still putting in the practice and the time and just keeping the algorithm right. But also next week, it's another UFC fight night. So UFC 308 is in 2 weeks. Next week will be Michael Pichera and Anthony Hernandez. Probably Pichera is going to win. I like Pichera, but I don't know who this Anthony Hernandez guy is. I'll have to do a little bit more research before the fight. Obviously, it won't come to you until after the fight. But yeah, I'm going to have to look into that. Rob Font versus Kyler Phillips. I always like Rob Font. He used to just be throwing hands. But most likely, you got a guy who's 29 on the come up right now. Great record. He's probably getting polished up through Rob Font, and he's going to move on. So I'll say Kyler Phillips. I don't know. I just like Pichera. I like all the flips he does. I like the crazy stuff. I think he would be a hard fight for anybody. You might beat him, but you're going to get lucky regardless. You're going to get lucky because it's just the odds. He does crazy spinning back kicks and front flips, and he does the craziest stuff. So if you do survive, kudos to you because you made some incredible moves. If you ever see Pichera fight, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, it doesn't seem like next week is going to be too lit. Yeah, Austin Lane's fighting. Not too much. Not too much in this fight night. But UFC 306 is going to be very interesting. Like I said, you got Shara Bullet. Cyril Gane and Volkov were supposed to fight too. That got canceled, and neither one of them got rescheduled. But either way, you got Ankalaev and Rakic. That's going to be an interesting fight. I love Rakic. I thought Rakic was going to go on a championship path. You got Ankalaev. He's a little bit different. Should be an interesting fight. Should be a very interesting fight. I honestly don't know who wins that. I really like Rakic. I thought Rakic's last loss, I think he just ran out of gas, and I think he maybe even ran out of belief. He was coming off an ACL tear, coming off being out of the fight scene for a little while. It seemed a little bit like a Nick Diaz moment where I think he thought he was in worse shape than he was, and I think he kind of lost all morale and just kind of, I don't want to say gave up because I don't want to say these guys just give up, but it kind of just seemed like he got in his head a little bit and he thought the fight was over when it wasn't. And he was doing well and Maybe he got into a little bad streak, a groove. But from what I seen, I thought Rakic was pretty solid. So I like Rakic. I'm going to continue to root for him. But Ankalaev, I mean, the dude's pretty scary. It's a big dude, broad shoulders. Like he's a legit 205. And he's probably a lot more than that when he gets into the ring with you on fight night. But Rakic, he fought heavyweight before, so he's also a big boy. It'll be interesting. And then even the next week, see, there's these fight nights that are so whack, like the past 2 ones. I mean, last night, it was a lot of boring fights. The only finish was Grant Dawson in the second round, knockout on Rafa Garcia. Other than that, all decisions. The whole card was decisions. So, decisions and people that we don't necessarily tune in to see. Next week will be like that. But as I was saying, UFC 308, but the fight night after that, you got Brandon Moreno, with multiple-time champion, versus Albazi. Then you got Aaron Blanchfield and Namajunas. Great fight. Derek Lewis and Diniz, however you say his name. Diniz is undefeated. He's a hammer. And then that's just interesting against Derek Lewis. Who knows what could happen? You know what I'm saying? Marc-Andre Barrios even fighting. Trayvon Giles, who's solid. He's got some knockout power. I like the way he fights. He got beat up by Michael Morales, but the dude's 17-0. He's undefeated. Who hasn't gotten beat up by Michael Morales? So until he gets beat, it's okay to get beat by Michael Morales. That's the way I see it. Like, your record is your record. Obviously, it is of that night. Like, if you lose to him, you get a loss on your record. But if you go see him beat, the next top 3 ranked fighters, can you say you got beat by a bum? Like, if you face LeBron James in basketball one-on-one, he's going to beat you, right? Like, it doesn't mean you're necessarily a bum. It doesn't matter what level game you're at. You could be DeMar DeRozan. You could be somebody who's never picked up a basketball before. Either way, you're going to lose. So you can't really judge it. You fought the best of the best. You faced the best of the best. The loss isn't necessarily as bad. If you faced a bum, that's a totally different story and you lost. Then that's when your rankings get legitimized and actualized. Even the prelim, Pedro Munoz, who was a former champion, he's on the card. Lipsy's on. Oh, okay. Even Alexander Romanov. See, this is the fun fight nights that I'm talking about. Cody Gibson's in here. It's a decent fight night. Like, for a free fight night card on ESPN, they killed it. Fight night 24/7. I mean, Paredes is about to sleep Neil Magny. Neil Magny's been on a real bad skid. I think this is probably Magny's last main event. Like, no doubt about it. Ooh, Mike Johns versus Garbrandt. Mearchart is on the next week. Tresean Gore. See, it's picking up. It's picking up. All right. Enough UFC now. Because, like I said, next week's a fight night. We're building up to 308. Once Richie comes back next week, we'll be able to cover the whole 308 card together. We make our picks and see who did what, That's always the fun part with us. That's why I like doing this with him. That's my brother. And regardless, me and him usually talk on the phone. And we turned our weekend talk on the phone about sports for like an hour or two into a podcast. So this is what basically our podcast really is. I wanted to continue doing podcasting. I stopped doing it for a team that I was working for. And I just kind of wanted to keep the rhythm going, staying in podcasting shape, keeping the mental fresh, keeping it going. It's hard to talk on live. So to do it is a skill. My mustache is extra itchy right now. Anyway, it's hard to keep it going all the time. So knowing that, hold on. All right, my bad. Like I said, I'm still adjusting some things, and usually I have like a second break in between and let Richie talk and adjust some things and go to a different screen and try to set up the next tab so I could show you guys. But yeah, UFC Fight Night. Let me just cross that out so we don't like go back to the UFC too much. I don't want to just talk this whole time about UFC because, especially like I said, Richie's not here. It's fun when we can trade off and talk about different moments of the fight. I do want to discuss the WNBA Finals because that is the most relevant and most important at the moment. NBA preseason, not that important. UFC Fight Nights, not that important. There's no belts being exchanged. There is a belt being exchanged in the WNBA Finals, and both of them are not the champions of last year. The Liberty beat the Aces, so that's huge. They were the returning champs. They were trying to three-peat. And then you also have the Lynx. You know, they won the Commissioner's Cup, as I said earlier, and they haven't really been the best team. You know, Nafisa Collier has been hurt ever since she's gotten drafted. She's been in and out of injuries. She was great in college. She was never really hurt in college either. Great all-around player, doing her thing. And you've seen a lot of potential in her game. She seemed like she could shoot the three. Seemed like she could hit the mid-range, be a three-level scorer, and get to the line. She seemed like she had all the tools. She could play defense. She could do it all. Just an ultimate, like a five-tool player. If you know a baseball term, five-tool means that they could do all things. They could field. They could hit. They could throw. Like, they got an arm. Doesn't necessarily mean they pitch, but they got a good arm. They could run bases. What did I say? Five-tool. They have all of the things. All the things you need on a baseball field, basically. You need to play offense and defense. She has it all, and that's just an analogy from baseball. But being a five-tool player means you're complete. You don't really have a weakness. You're pro at every level. And that's exactly what Nafisa Collier is, a five-tool WNBA player. She has it all. She has elite skills, professional skills in every single facet of her game. And that's where it's bringing her team to the WNBA Finals. Like, that's what it is when you are a complete player. You play both sides of the ball. You motivate your teammates. You expand your range. You hit threes, twos. She does it all. Like I said, she gets to the line. She's getting ones, twos, threes. Don't matter. She's putting points up in an efficient manner and also guarding and facilitating. So I love what Nafisa Collier does. I think it's a really great team. And the GM went off this offseason to put that team together, to get Courtney Williams, to get Smith in the paint. Because you had Juhas. Dorkin Juhas is decent. Like, to not think to just, I'm going to invest in her. No, you take a pro that's ready right now. You make Juhas shoot the third string big now. Because, you got Smith. Carlton's in there. There's just so much size and shooting and flexibility. Smith can switch on the guards. Carlton guards the best player. It's not even Fee. Fee doesn't guard the best player. So there's a little maybe misconception there with Nafisa Collier being the defensive player of the year. But the person who guards the best player is actually Bridget Carlton. She can slide her feet. She plays the three, but she guards the one. She guards the two, the three. She can even guard the four. She's like 6'2", 6'3". Big wing and athletic. I don't think people think of Bridget Carlton as an athlete, but she is. She's not a set shooter. That girl does a lot of things on the basketball court, and kudos to her. They're going to have a game today, game 2 of the WNBA Finals. I believe it is at noon. My time. I'm in Los Angeles, so it's noon at my time, but 3 p.m. East Coast. So depending on which side of the country you're on, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, noon Pacific Standard Time. So, but I really like the Liberty here. The Liberty are in a very opportune position. They're still down 1, but that's not an end-all, be-all. If they were down 2-0, I would say most likely they're going to lose this WNBA Finals. But if you could even up the series and potentially steal one in an away game, that'll do it. That's pretty much all you really need. You need to steal one on the road. You steal one on the road, no matter what, you'll be fine. So I'm looking to see Stewie bring a title to New York. I believe she's from New York and born and raised in New York. And then she got all her championships, one for UConn, but as a professional in Seattle. She did that with Sue Bird. I believe they have 2 championships. and now she's going to the Liberty and hoping to bring one there. Let me actually look that up. Breanna Stewart stats. Yeah, 2-time WNBA champ. I knew I wasn't bugging. And 2-time Finals MVP. So potentially she could be 3-time Finals MVP, 3-time NBA champion, and, just building those accolades and what Stewie does to be potentially the GOAT. There is A'ja Wilson, who is very, very dominant. But Stewie has been incredibly dominant while also having a lot more ball skills than A'ja. A'ja is like a brute. She really is. She's super strong. She's a little bit smaller. I think she's about 6'3.5". Some places have her listed at 6'5". I just don't see her at 6'5", to be honest, because I see her next to Kia Stokes, and Kia Stokes isn't 6'5". So it's like, how is she 6'5"? Just something I've noticed. Man's coffee's hot. All right. Also, they named the top 25 WNBA players of all time, Breanna Stewart. I'm going to read some of her accolades. 6-time All-WNBA, All-Rookie, 2022 scoring champ, 6-time All-Star, 2-time MVP. She was the Commissioner's Cup MVP last year, 2-time NBA champ. She was the Rookie of the Year in 2016, 6-time All-Defensive, 2-time Finals MVP. I mean, she really is unstoppable. Stewie is one of the GOATs, and that's just how it is. She shot terrible last game. I'll say that. I mean, this is what I was talking about. It was ugly. It didn't make any sense. She was 6 for 21 last game, and that's 28%. That's just not going to get it done in the WNBA Finals. You have to produce more. She was, I think, -5 in the box score, which also kind of shows, like, if she shot 28% from the field and she was only -5 for the game but played pretty much the majority of the game, that also kind of shows you that the Lynx's offense was a little bit bad and sputtering this game. It is what it is. It was a really weird finals, at least to end the game. It got really weird. And then we got OT, which I'm always down for 5 minutes of extra free basketball. We love OT. Let's see what happens today, though. I'm really interested in what happens today. I'm going to say the Liberty win this one. It's going to go 1-1. If it goes 2-0, the series is done, and who gives a crap? It just is what it is at that point. Nobody will care. I think it goes 1-1. For a second, as I'm drinking the coffee, I'm like, wait, what if my mic button is on mute? What if I've been on mute this whole time? But I'm not, so that's good. Me and Richie did something like that maybe a month ago, where we were talking in the first 10 minutes. I didn't press go live, but I thought I did, but I didn't press start. Like, there's like a go live button and then a start, so it like goes live and then you start it up. So I just pressed go live and we just started talking, and we had to redo the intro. It was kind of funny. Also, 9 minutes. I'm bidding on a Cam Thomas rookie card for his birthday. I want to snag this one. It's very important. Very important stuff. I was actually thinking if you guys would be interested in watching some Paul Pierce highlights, because that's what I wanted to do today. It's Paul Pierce's birthday. And why won't we show his highlights? You know what I'm saying? Let's celebrate this man's career, celebrate his life while he's still here. We only got a short time on this earth. As dark as that sounds, you better feel blessed.
Vote yes or no on a guy, and believe it, as we know from the past. Oh, we see the finish there by Pierce with 2 hands.
Pierce to the basket, and he slams it.
On Yao, though?
The foul on Yao.
Yao's not stopping Paul Pierce. That's a flagrant, too. He hit
Pierce looking, finds Green, gets it back. They want Pierce to take the shot, apparently. Middle of the defender. Paul rises up. The captain. Pierce goes to the hoop. And nobody out there down there to cut off the basket. Pierce. One more time, Paul Pierce on bobblehead night.
To make the contract work, a draft pick in exchange for a kid who supposedly.
Heck of a shot there by Paul Pierce, wasn't it?
It really was.
Here we go, Miami. Pierce on the catch, on the drive, and he hits, and the Celtics win the game on the Paul Pierce layup.
Pierce, look out.
And Pierce with the strong finish.
Out below. Maybe that will get Pierce going.
Pierce with the deflection. Pierce with the hustle. Pierce with the basket.
This is really a tummy point. That's really great hustle.
Pierce with 5 seconds. Measures Butler. Now drives. Double team by Arenas. The jumper. Got it at the buzzer. And Pierce has beaten the Wizards in Washington.
Off of Paul Pierce. Pierce, I'm killed. Turning up the pressure meter. Wow.
Send it in.
Roll.
PP.
Celtics 40, Nets 36. Pierce goes behind the back, and Pierce with a big finish. Great move by Paul Pierce, the 9-time All-Star, attacking the rim.
Down to 3. Pierce checks the clock. 2, 1. Pierce for the win. It's over. Paul Pierce at the buzzer.
A proven score in Pierce.
Oh, spinning home the O's and the I's.
Oh,
Paul Pierce.
Oh yeah, baby. That'll make player of the day.
Pierce. Basket.
And Marcus Camby.
Free throw line. Remember how we talked about the grown man move earlier, Mike?
Yeah.
That was Paul Pierce's rendition.
Pierce takes it.
Got it. Paul Pierce at the buzzer.
Shot clock is down to.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. We talk about getting there late. When you get there late, you get your feelings hurt. And that's what happened to Chris Mim right there.
Oh, it's a highlight film. Get it on the highlight film. Wow. Pierce for 2. High at 2. 31.9 for Paul Pierce. Comes into KG. Into the hands of Pierce. 4 on the clock. 3 on the clock. Pierce for the game. Got it! With half a second to go.
Al Horford, all over.
I'll be all right. Sounds
Prime
good.
Al
He's back
Horford.
healthy, Mike and Tommy. Back to you. 1,000 games, guys.
All right, great to see Jay. Now, how about that move by Pierce?
Yeah, Greg Oscar tagged in.
They've been there 7 more times in Boston. Here's Pierce. Oh, what a dunk by Paul Pierce.
You have all the home duties you have to keep up. You're paying bills, you shovel the driveways, go to the bank. Pierce for 2.
Pick up that check that you left in the office before you left.
Pierce,
There we go.
final seconds.
Oh, this is the
Pierce
one right
puts it
here.
up for the win.
That was
Knocks
mediocre.
it down. Celtics
Bosh
win.
ain't stopped nothing.
Mim, I'll tell you, that's a tummy point for Mim. Pierce. Beautifully done by Mike James.
Put on Chris Kaman, Eddie House. Seeing these old highlights are
5
hilarious.
seconds.
Some of the
Williams
people that
with
are
tight
on these
defense.
teams at the
Here
time.
is Lowry on the deck. Through
Brooklyn.
2. Lowry put it up. It's
There you go.
blocked by
Brooklyn,
Pierce.
Darren
And
Williams.
the Nets win the series as Paul Pierce
And the fingertip
denies
block
the
on
shot
Lowry.
and sends Brooklyn to the second round.
It's just torching him. Look at Harrington. He's talking to Pierce. He's talking to each other. Come on, bring it. Bring it, big fella. Show me what you got.
Off the bench, and 8 have come here in the third quarter. Now it's back to this end. Pierce comes charging, and oh my! A foul on Ellis, and Paul Pierce giving you another glimpse at his glowing game.
I'll tell you. Oh, Walker with the good hands and the steal.
Walker with Anderson and Pierce. Pierce over the first. Paul Pierce extends to a 98-91.
Pierce.
He heads up and blocked the cut.
Oh, attacking the rim and tomahawking it down. Wow, Paul Pierce at his best.
Garnett the screen.
Okay, but I
Pierce
in the
driving
garden.
on Stoudemire, the
Amari.
jumper, yes!
Gotta love it.
With 0.4 of a second left. Right there from Hudson.
So fortunate to be tied here.
Oh, Pierce.
How you doing there, Paul?
Watch this power move as Pierce hanging on.
Bazemore. Here comes Pierce with 5
This
seconds
is really
left.
the best
Pierce
play
with
ever.
three.
I
Pierce
like
with
this.
two.
This triple
Pierce
team.
fall away at the horn. It's gone. Paul Pierce does it again as the Wizards win it. 103-101.
All right, so we got
The fastest run from home to first.
we did some Paul Pierce highlights. Next, we got some Cam Thomas highlights. Should we do? What should we do? This one's from the Brooklyn Nets. So the film's
But Sports Center is coming up next.
We'll do this one.
Great early game between Denver and Boston. Do the Celtics finally lose on their home floor? Cam Thomas with another basket.
Taking
He's got
Austin Reeves to the
33.
cup.
They've got 6 of their final 9 games, including tonight here at Barclays Center. Thomas! Oh, can I have this dance? Cam Thomas!
Little twink,
Just know that
take a
Cam
look at
Thomas
the
is very
surveying,
good.
and then that is
Jalen
a
Brunson
high release arcing.
Yeah,
Here's Thomas, one-on-one with Prince. Switch.
he did that his rookie
Thomas
year.
over James.
Before Brunson even came in New York.
Nails it. Cam Thomas. 8.6% from 3. That's last in the league.
Well, from 3 tonight, they have been cooking. Cam Thomas in particular.
Never gets inside, hooked upstairs, rebounded by Brooklyn. Thomas on the move. Thomas has another gear, gets it to go.
You see the way he just went through Denny? Like he was just like a little pad.
Going right up the
Get out of here.
Thomas, one-on-one with Bates Diop. Cam, bam.
Bates Diop. Then Bates Diop gets
Look at Cam
traded to
Thomas.
the
Look at the
net.
quickness
He has
off
no
that
kick.
cross through the legs. Whew. Strong on the finish.
Bridges draws 2. Thomas nearly had it taken away by Russell, 12-2. Thomas forcing his way inside. Oh, what a finish! Cam Thomas slicing.
That's next level. Like,
Look at Cam.
inside. Oh, what
here,
a
oh,
finish!
they're gonna
Russell,
show a
12-2.
replay. Come on. But look, 2 bumps, right? That's typically when people take it back out, whatever. But instead, he knows he's got the leverage. He's right there. He's about 50-50 with him. You see his body is 50-50, but his legs are behind. So that means his forward momentum is carrying him faster than D'Lo's momentum is carrying him because his feet are square. He's standing straight up while Cam Thomas is at a slant. So if you're at a slant leaning forward, you're going to run faster. You're going to get the quicker burst. Even in track, I used to run Division I track and field. We would work on our starts. You know how we got faster? You know how we would work on running? Not saying every time, but you would fall forward and then catch yourself. That's how you would start running. So you would, your body would naturally go in a falling position. So your calf angle, your ankle flexibility and mobility, everything just gets adjusted and you're catching yourself hard and you're going off of a dead sprint off of that. So if you're falling forward, you're going to naturally catch yourself and also naturally be in your almost optimal sprint position. So what he's doing is he's falling forward while D'Lo is straight up still. So he knows, knowing that, look at me breaking this play down, but he knows he's already got him beat. If he takes one more step, he's ahead of him naturally. It's just anatomically, it makes sense. So, boom, he just uses that leverage that he already had, takes one more step. D'Lo's still in the same position, stuck, because he went straight up. Now he's like a scarecrow out there. You're not guarding nobody. You're just standing still.
Forcing his way inside. Oh, a finish. Cam Thomas slicing.
Help.
Look at Cam Thomas just going right at D'Angelo.
Boom. This is where D'Lo stands straight up because he expects him to retreat dribble. But knowing where he is in his body position, Cam Thomas already knows. And he takes that extra
bodies
forward,
through him.
That's a strong defense, and LeBron James doesn't come and provide the weak side help.
Finish.
Clowney after it keeps it alive.
This is elite, processing speed. He's doing this in the moment, at the same second. I'm telling you, bro. Different type of score.
Thomas already with 12 in the quarter. Spins and hits. 14 in the first for Cam Thomas.
Some big-time shot making by Cam Thomas.
He has that look in his eye again. Sidestep three. Thomas! Kaboom!
Cam Thomas.
Yeah, Rui,
got the look of a killer in his eyes, the sidestep on Hachimura.
They're both born in Japan. Rui Hachimura and Cam Thomas.
That's all that's left.
Thomas finishes plus the foul. Cam Thomas is a certified bucket.
Doesn't matter how you come at him. Look right here, just a surveying. And Korkmaz barely just allows it. Just a surveying.
He gets this on Mobamba. But look what he does. Look where he takes his step. He's only about a foot or two. His foot is about a foot away from Bamba's. If you look down there, right here, if you can see my cursor.
Korkmaz.
He jumps, creates the contact, and then puts it under him. So he can't.
Barely just allows it.
Here's Thomas working badly. Thomas looking for some help. Says, "I'll do it myself."
On Marvin Bagley.
He was a DNP CD, and so he should have some.
And also, if you think about think about Da Vinci, right? He drew that painting of the perfect man, the anatomical man. He's standing there like this. So if you're 6 feet tall, your wingspan's supposed to be 6 feet, right? So if someone is 6'11", just think with me. Come, take this ride. If someone is 6'11" and you're 6'3", that means they're 8 inches taller than you, right? But that also means they have 8 inches more of wingspan than you. So that's a 16-inch difference. I don't think people calculate this. And in the NBA, people's wingspans are crazy. These are the best of the best athletes. This isn't the average body that is supposed to be just anatomically average and correct. It's supposed to be about the same height, same arm length. Typically, it's the people who are, abnormalities that really stand out in the NBA. You'll have a guy like even Victor Wembanyama, 7'6", but his wingspan is like 8'2". There's a difference. If you have a differentiating wingspan from your height, that's typically a positive. There's some people who have shorter arms than how tall they are. Like I think JJ Redick is like somebody who is about 6'4", but maybe has like a 6'2" wingspan or something like that. And typically those guys are better shooters. Their arms aren't as long. There's less range of motion, shorter arms. You just let it fly quicker. Same thing like on a bench. You got shorter arms, you could bench better because your arms aren't longer and your bones aren't supporting that type of weight on a bigger scale. So like if you have longer arms, it's more likely that you bench less anatomically because you might be stronger pound for pound. You might actually be stronger because you are holding a bigger frame and you are now supporting the weight. But like I said, it's all like anatomical shit. So, like I said, Marvin Bagley's guarding you, 6'11", also 6'11" wingspan. So he's taller and has the longer reach, the radius around them. If you remember sports science when we were younger with John Brinkus, sports science was huge, and they would do all these in-depth studies like Calvin Johnson's catch radius and things like that to see how far he could jump forward, back. If you throw a ball, basically, where can Calvin Johnson get it? And they prove that it's crazy. You know, like some people's coverage range is insane. It comes down to vertical jump, reaction time, height, hand length, arm length, wingspan, all that type of stuff. So just growing up, internalizing all this knowledge, I know if you're 6'3" going up on a 6'11", you're defeating a 1.5 foot deficiency minimum. Like I'm saying, more than likely Marvin Bagley's arms are longer than 6'10". So more than likely it's more. And I don't believe Cam Thomas's wingspan is too crazy. He's probably 6'3", wingspan probably about 6'5", something like that. I don't think he's too like lanky, but he's still in the positive of it. But I believe Bagley is as well. So let's get this started.
Fresh legs going to be interesting to see what he does with these minutes and opportunity.
It's a 2 for 1. Thomas knows it and takes it to the rim for 2.
But
you look right here once again. Cam Thomas almost loses that ball, and now the left side smooth on the finish. Just knows how.
Oh, great job fighting. Great job. That's one of his favorite moves.
Much.
To drive you hard left and
beat by the owl.
Excellent years with the Blazers toward the end of
or
his
as I call him,
playing career, but was just a
Man,
superstar overseas. Thomas on the long strides, hangs in the air. Oh, how did he do it?
Attack the inside on Sacramento. You look at Thomas right there going at hard. What a bucket. It's a dynamic of this one for New York.
Thomas right down the middle. He scoops it home.
Jumping over
Thomas is deep in his bag.
This is all
Dennis
under
did a
the
good
rim.
job of
net.
cutting over quick. There was verticality by Thomas.
I think that's the
Thomas
part
stopped.
where don't really
And
understand how good
Cam
is
Thomas,
to be.
you are
Like
a bad man.
We want the Russell
Thomas
Westbrook
up in the air, realizes he's getting
guard,
fouled, and he
dunking
still
on
somehow
everybody,
just
all
composes
that
his
stuff.
shoulders,
We're
the
never gonna see
bounce,
Cam Thomas dunk on
the
it.
double clutch here. Look at this. Up, double clutch. The follow through is there. The bounce is coming.
On the offensive rebound.
Craziest whatever. You got Anthony Edwards coming over the top, dunking on Utah. Doing body bag. You know what I'm saying? So it just look
Tough one gets in there for
This
Thomas.
guy is
Connell continues to play hard no matter the situation. Thomas
Jarris
hesitates
Walker,
and
don't
finishes and one. Bridges on Johnson.
Sometimes these under the rim guys are the most unstoppable.
Get it out for Thomas at the quick 11
There's a lot of
points.
moves that
And he adds to the tally. How did he do it inside?
Thomas is a killer. Just turning the corner, using his body. Look at that finish. Pez just might not knock him down.
Milwaukee second in the NBA in scoring behind Indiana. Thomas.
Scintillating
from Cam Thomas off the window.
Basket, 5-day Ron Sharp, and this time Cam Thomas
There was only
on
one
the
way to
opposite
stop
side
that.
doing
For Suggs on the fade. In and out.
Stop spot.
That's trying to run. Thomas to the rim. Plus
What a
one.
bucket on Franz.
single coverage with Wagner, and Wagner comes.
Plus one.
Bender.
That's trying to run. Thomas
Franz
to the
Wagner.
rim. Plus one.
Single coverage with Wagner, and Wagner comes through in not only gets a body, but
Everyone trying to navigate that.
Wilson leaves it for Thomas. Wilson played 140 playoff games. Cam Thomas is trying to add his tally. Courtside close-up. Look at this. Degree of difficulty.
And it was impressive because we knew that the shot clock was going off. You could hear his team. They're yelling shot clock. He just turns around. That is a difficult shot. And again, I'm going to plan
To agree to a 5-year, $303 million contract.
Owl. This is my
To
all-time.
agree to a
One of
5-year,
my top 5 favorite buckets
$303
of Cam Thomas
contract.
ever,
Yeah.
especially because it's on Jalen Brown.
To agree to a
Elite
5-year,
defender. One of my favorite players in the
$303
league right now. And the way he messes
with the
them up.
buttery toss.
His eyes,
Called for the
his head.
walk.
this is
Look at this
insane.
in
Watch.
slow motion.
He's got Jalen.
He's got Jalen Brown on his hip. Jalen Brown has him beat right now. He's got him beat. He's a step ahead of him. He should beat him in every facet. He's taller. He's got longer arms. He's got incredible strength, quickness, reflexes, everything.
Brown on his hip. Watch him.
But what Cam Thomas does is right here, he switched the pace. Now he's off beat, and now he beat Jaylen Brown. See how he's now like I would say 3/4 of a step ahead of him in stride.
Stop.
Cam Thomas he slowed down his pace, and then now you see the scissor kick. So it's all about technique. It's really hard to describe this kind of stuff, but basically he slowed down, and then to bring your pace back, you scissor kick, and you see the stride length change with Cam Thomas. Look.
For the walk.
This is insane. Watch. He's got Jaylen Brown on his hip.
That half a beat right there, he slowed Jaylen Brown down. Well, he let him go by. Now Jaylen Brown has to decelerate and move back up to eat up that space, to create that distance. To eliminate that distance that Cam Thomas created.
Watch him stop.
He slowed down. You see how Jaylen Brown had to actually lean back into him because the off beat. And that's what Luka Doncic does as well. This is like elite level stuff. Elite. You can't really see it at full speed, but the more and more you break it down, you understand that this is all like a dance. Every player moves to their own beat. And you could time the cadence. That's what the greatest defenders do. They study their opponent. They know they make moves at this rate. That's why some guys are easy to block, some aren't. And this is with Cam Thomas. He moves at his own pace. You can't just say he does whatever. He moves at his own pace. You can't keep up with him. You don't know what he's going to do next. He's got 5 counters right here. So how are you going to stop him if he's got 5 different moves to beat you? You could only stop 2 to 3 potentially. And that's kind of the place he puts you in right now. Now, look, he turns sideways. This looks like he's going to retreat dribble. So what he did was fake retreat dribble, created some space, got Jaylen Brown to now move forward and mess with his whole defensive strategy. Now, Jaylen Brown is at the mercy of Cam Thomas because he got him off beat, and now instead of corralling Cam Thomas, he's trying to catch up and now see what he's doing. So now Cam Thomas is a step ahead of him off of a stutter step.
2 feet.
Boom. So now he faked the retreat dribble, which Jaylen Brown bid on. Then he tries to get back to his defensive position. Cam Thomas does an actual retreat dribble move.
Back.
So then Jaylen Brown presses up again, but then he realizes, he turned his back. So then he takes instead of moving this foot up right here, because this foot would be here if he did the full retreat dribble. And he was shooting. But he drops the step because he turned his head.
Nearly has.
That's where Cam Thomas gets this nickname of the Owl. And
back entirely facing the basket.
Nickname since 2022, and this happened in 2024. I didn't come up with the nickname the Owl. I believe Doug Norrie is the one who's coining it and kind of like pushing it. He's the podcast co-host of Locked On Nets. So Doug Norrie, the co-host, he's the bald guy. The other guy, the one with hair, he does poetry and stuff on the show. It's kind of cool. I like their show. But anyway, this is the prime example of why he wants Cam Thomas to be nicknamed the Owl, mainly because of that head turn.
Step back.
So right here, you notice how he keeps his head on the swivel to keep his eyes on the rim. He turned his body. And what I was taught as a kid, Vinny Del Negro was actually my coach when I was a young kid. And I remember the one main thing that Vinny Del Negro taught my team. I went to a Catholic school named Holy Name. As a kid, Vinny Del Negro also went to that Catholic school. It was right across the street from my house, and I played for the basketball team. So after school, we'd go play for the basketball team, and Vinny Del Negro was our coach. And he was a former NBA player. I believe he won a championship with the Spurs. He might have won 2 championships with the Spurs. And after that, after he was my head coach, he got hired as the Clippers head coach. And I swear to God, I thought I was so close to the NBA as a child. I'm like, yo, my coach just got hired to be the coach of the Clippers. So I got really knowledgeable for the about year and a half that Vinny Del Negro was my head coach. And something he taught us was basically follow your defender's hips. Don't watch their eyes. Don't watch their shoulders. Hips. You can't go anywhere without your hips. Don't watch the footwork for the most part. Footwork and hips are basically the best. Shoulders, everybody could just move their shoulders and trick you. Same with eyes. Don't get caught up in the eyes too much. Watch the hips and the feet. That's where everybody's going. You can't go anywhere without your hips or your feet. So if you followed that, which is traditional defense, watching hips and feet, he's not in a scoring position right now. He would have to do a 180, and that's really not that good, especially the way his body is and everything else. You wouldn't necessarily say he's in optimal shooting position, but the way he entirely head, because owls can't move their eyes. I'm pretty nerdy into this, but owls can't move their eyes. You could Google this. That's why their heads can move 360, because their owls are not supposed to move their eyes. They use their head, all that other stuff, and the way Cam Thomas plays, he'll move his body everywhere, but his head stays locked on the rim. Like an owl, their head stays locked on the prey. No matter what they're doing, they could turn 360 and always keep their eyes on their prey without moving and tricking the defender or their prey that they're not actually going to attack them. I think it's actually a genius nickname, to be honest, the owl. I just don't know if people are really like too happy about it, like it's not like, oh, it's the coolest nickname ever, but why don't we get some cool nicknames back? Like we used to have cool names, Chocolate Thunder, Pistol Pete, even in the WWE, there were just so much cool nicknames and characters back in the day. I feel like we're losing recipes. We're losing all the cool nicknames. Nowadays, people's nicknames are just abbreviations of their last names. Jaylen Brown, JB, Kevin Durant, KD, Cam Thomas, CT. How about we come up with some cool nicknames? So I like the owl. I support the owl. All right, let's get back to this. It's close.
Facing the basket and carves midair to square his shoulders and shoot over the outstretched arms of a Jaylen Brown.
I do two things that I love: dancing and dogs.
So, thank you for tuning in to my rant. This was Cam Thomas and Paul Pierce's birthday today. So I had to just go off and go into a little in-depth research into, their best plays, their best scoring moments of their career. We watched Paul Pierce's top 34 plays. He was number 34. Shout out to the truth. And then we also watched Cam Thomas's highlights from last year. So the 2022-2023 23-24 season. This year will be 24-25. So yeah, the 2023-2024 season, those are some pretty solid highlights. I also love the uniforms. It's a collab with Cause, KAWS. If you know who Cause is, it's like a street brand, and they do like all sorts of type of things. They make bears with like X's on their eyes and different art, and they make collabs all over the place for streetwear, urban wear, modeling, all that type of stuff. Just modern mainstream culture, and you got fake clothing lines and rip-off versions of them and all sorts of stuff. So it was pretty cool for them to collab with the Brooklyn Nets and make their own jersey. I have the shorts. I want to get the jersey, but I definitely won't wear them together. I don't want to look like I'm trying to be on the squad. I don't want to have to guard up on Cam Thomas. They say, "Yo, is he the backup? We need a little scout. We need somebody to play some defense right now. Sub in." I don't want to guard Cam Thomas. Doesn't seem like a fun job. So good luck to the NBA players that have to guard Cam Thomas this year. The Brooklyn Nets do not have too many stars on the squad, so it looks like CT is going to have to take a big leap in every way. I hope he could really become a facilitator this season and obviously just keep his efficiency and, mainly just a playmaker. I really believe he's going to be a great playmaker this season. Hopefully he gets up to about 4.5, 5 assists a game. That's my goal for him. And I think he could do that. You got Dennis Schroeder. You're going to have some other players. The thing about Jordi Fernandez is he's more of like a European-style coach, and I feel like everybody's about to get 2 to 4 assists on the squad. It's just going to be a egalitarian-style offense where everybody's passing and just trying to get open shots, good shots, working for great shots, and nobody's going to be too selfish because the team ceiling isn't too high, so they're going to have to play together to get the best out of the team. I want to see leaps from two guys this year on the Brooklyn Nets. I want to see Noah Clowney and Jalen Wilson. I like what Jalen Wilson can do. I think he's a pretty solid athlete. I actually seen him in LA, and I drove past him. He was walking, like he was across the street or walking out of an Erewhon, and I just didn't want to say anything to Jalen Wilson. I was driving, by the way. He was on the corner, and I was at a red light. He was just standing there, and I wanted to yell out. I know it was him. I like absolutely know it was him. I could tell. He had glasses on, but like I've watched enough. I've watched enough college tape and followed the draft and watched the Brooklyn Nets last year. And I'm pretty sure I seen Jalen Wilson on the corner of an Erewhon. So I should have said what's up to him. But good luck to Jalen Wilson this year. You know, as a low drafted pick last year, I thought he did pretty well. Summer League, he looked great. 2 seasons in a row, he looked really good in Summer League. I go every year. And yeah, Jalen Wilson's legit as they come. He looked great at Kansas, and he looks pretty good in the league. He's a little bit undersized for being like a 3-4 type, but he plays well, got great body control, and his fundamentals are pretty good too. Like he's always boxing out. He plays the right way. So big fan of him. Noah Clowney seems like a guy who could just fill the stat sheet by an accident. Like he's going to knock down 2 to 3 threes a game, get 3 to 4 blocks. He does some crazy stuff sometimes. So let's see what he does with consistent minutes and if he can keep that up forever, or he's just kind of getting lucky against second and third units who aren't really like studying Noah Clowney and knowing the scouting report. So I think this season is going to be the year when Noah Clowney gets either exposed for being overly aggressive and getting away with not being on scouting reports, or this is the year where we say, oh my God, this guy is a stat stuffer. He's everywhere. He's unstoppable. We'll see. We'll see. But I think he definitely has a lot to grow and a lot to show this year. Nick Claxton's probably going to get traded somewhere. And also, speaking of former Net, let's talk about former Net center. I think Jared Allen's going to get traded this year too. He signed his contract extension to make it basically on the last day of, what was it called? The day before the trade deadline, basically his contract kicks in to where he can get traded one day before the deadline. So we'll see where that is. We'll see if, oh no, I forgot about the Cam Thomas card. No. What did it sell for? I really forgot. Oh, man. It's all good. It's life. We were supposed to win that for his birthday. I don't even want to know how much that went for on eBay. Oh, I missed out. It's okay. Like I said, it's life. But anyway, thank you for tuning in today. Wish Paul Pierce and Cam Thomas a happy birthday. Paul Pierce turned 47 today, and Cam Thomas turned 23. So thank you for tuning in. That was a solid hour rant about UFC Fight Night, the coming up UFC 308, the WNBA Finals, the NBA preseason, and, of course, Cam Thomas and Paul Pierce's birthday today. Some of the greatest scorers of all time. Loved Paul Pierce as a kid, and maybe that's also why I like Cam Thomas a little bit, because Paul Pierce was not like an uber athlete. You know what I'm saying? So, and he always scored 20 points a game. He always figured it out, had all the moves in the world, had the hezzies, had the turnaround fades, always could make tough shots. And that's what Cam Thomas is. Cam Thomas kind of feels like a 6'3" version of Paul Pierce. And I'm just glad that they were born on the same day so I could show 2 of my favorite players ever the love they deserve. So shout out to them. Shout out to the Brooklyn Nets this year. Figure it out. Hopefully you could get Cooper Flagg, VJ Edgecombe. I don't want Ace Bailey just my opinion. I think Ace Bailey is a little bit like Josh Smith. So let's see where that goes. I do think he's a credible athlete, could do a lot of things, but I just don't think he's going to do it efficiently. So that's my take on Ace Bailey. But most likely I want, VJ Edge come on the Brooklyn Nets or Cooper Flag. I mean, you can't complain with Cooper Flag. And then the next year is AJ DeBonsa from Massachusetts. I'm from Massachusetts, so I always try to rep the Mass natives. But he's from Brockton, Mass, which is like a little. It's a city in Boston, but kind of off to the east a little bit. And honestly, it's good to root for somebody from Boston. I'm from Springfield, Massachusetts, birthplace of basketball, where the Basketball Hall of Fame is. The Lethal Shooter just got inducted. Vince Carter just got inducted to the Hall of Fame. The funniest one, like I said, the Lethal Shooter, KD's boy from high school, his AAU team, got inducted to the Hall of Fame for everything that he does on social media and moving the game of basketball. So shout out to him. But Brockton, like Springfield, is a city that is going through some times of poverty, opioid crisis, and some other things. So it's good to see somebody come out of Brockton, because typically when we hear about Brockton, we're hearing about overdoses, we're hearing about theft, we're hearing about crime. We're not hearing positive stories coming out of these cities anymore. And it's actually great to hear about somebody overcoming and achieving greatness. So rooting for AJ DeBonsa, really hard, rooting for him. I want him to do great. It was hard to see another Massachusetts kid, Terrence Clark. He was a top-ranked basketball player coming from Massachusetts, the Boston area, and he dies in a car crash while he's at Kentucky. And so that was hard to see, rooting for a Massachusetts kid, overcoming some odds. If you've seen recent statistics on Massachusetts, 7 million people live in Massachusetts. About 3 million people are on welfare. So the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is going through some things. About 40% of people are on welfare. It's tough. Our country's going through some things right now, and I understand them. I understand what's going on in my home state. So I always make sure I root for my guys, want to overcome and achieve. So kudos to them, and God bless. So we're out of here. Thank you so much for tuning in. We out. Peace. Until next week. Richie will be back, and I know that's why you guys tune in. So I'll see y'all.